Very good morning, dear students. So, this is the third lecture of the second chapter, Forms of Business Organization. And now we'll be doing the third form of business organization, that is partnership. So, if you remember, in the first lecture, you have studied about sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship means the single owner who carries on the business. A single owner who carries on the business by himself, and he will be only responsible for the profits and the losses of the company. But now it's partnership. So it's totally different from sole proprietorship, which you have studied earlier. So partnership, it is basically an association of two or more persons. Okay, when two or more persons or two or more partners, they come together and they start the business activities. Okay, first thing, they will agree that they have to start the business, and then they continue the business activities and pool all of their managerial as well as financial resources for the purpose of earning profit. Why they come together? For the purpose of earning profit. Then it is called as partnership. Then under Indian Partnership Act 1932, only that much is given here. So it comes under section 4. Keep this in mind. Under Indian Partnership Act 1932 section 4, how is it defined? A relation between the persons who have agreed to share the profits of the business, carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. That means, according to this act, according to Indian Partnership Act 1932, partnership, it doesn't mean that four partners are there, so they all four have to work together. Even if any one is working for all of them, and all other three have invested their managerial resources, their financial resources, then what will happen? They will also get the part of it. If they have invested something, then they will also get the profit. Okay, so it's all up to them. Either they want to work together or any one of them will be working for them. Okay, but they have to sign an agreement. There has to be an agreement that yes, they are coming together for starting the business. Okay, so according to this Partnership Act 1932, it has the following main features. The first one is formation. As I told you, they have to sign an agreement. Okay, they have to come together. If they want to come together, then there has to be an agreement. They have to agree. They have to agree together, either in oral or written, that yes, they want to start the business. And if they are doing something for the society, then it won't be called as partnership. Why? Because they are not earning profit or suffering with the losses in that case, like charitable purpose. So that won't be an example of the partnership. Then next is liability. The liability of each partner is unlimited. Then that means the personal properties are also liable for the debts of the partnership firm. Then risk bearing, as I told, if they are going to share the profits in the ratio which they have invested, then obviously in the same ratio they have to share the risk also which they are going to suffer with. Decision making and control, they all are having the mutual means they all are having the equal control over the business to take the decisions, and they all have the equal control over the business. Okay, so whenever they take the decisions, they have to take each and every one of them while taking the decision into consideration. Then continuity, it is a personal organization and no separate legal existence apart from its member. That means the members as well as the business, they both are having the same identity. They don't have separate legal existence, they don't have separate identity, they both are having the same identity. Hence it lacks continuity. That means the death or any retirement or anything of one partner, obviously it's going to affect the business. How? Either it will bring it to an end, it won't be possible. For example, they have started the large scale organization, and out of 5, if only 2 are left, then it won't be possible for 2 of them to continue the business. Okay, so there they have to end the business. Understood? Then membership, it's 2 to 50. Minimum number of members, it's 2 according to the section 464. Okay, and now according to Companies Act 2013, till now you were studying Indian Partnership Act 1932. Now according to Indian Companies Act 2013, it is 100, and at present it is limited by Government of India to 50. Then mutual agency. Every partner, each and every partner of the company has the right to act on behalf of partnership as well as other partners. Okay, as I told you in the very beginning. Okay, either any one of them can work for all of them, or all of them have to work together. It's totally upon them. Okay, mutual agency. Then comes the merits or advantages of partnership. The first one is easy formation and closure. So there is no complicated legal procedures. There are no any legal procedures to start the partnership, and it does not take much expenses to start it, much expenditure to start it. It can be started very easily. Then balanced decision making. The decisions which are taken by them, they are taken, as I told, they are taken jointly, and they have to consult each other. So therefore the partnership, it is able to take the balanced decision. Then more funds, as I told, they are having more capital. It's not that only single person is doing the business. Now they are doing it together. So obviously the capital or the resources, financial resources which they are going to bring, it's going to be more as compared to the sole proprietorship. Sharing of risk. They have to share the risk also. Along with the profits, they are supposed to share the risk of the business in the same ratio in which they have invested in the business. Then secrecy can be maintained. Now as these partners, they know they are working for their own welfare. So partnership does not have to get its account published like joint stock company. In case of joint stock company, which you are going to study later, they are supposed to tell about their profits to public, but here it's not like that. These partners, they are not supposed to publish their accounts in front of the public, and here its partners, they know about its affairs. Therefore partnership, it is able to maintain about the secrecy in its functioning. Then comes limitations or disadvantages of partnership. Unlimited liability. It's very obvious, since liability is unlimited, so even the personal assets can be also taken to meet the firm's debts. Limited resources. Since partnership, it has larger resources as compared to sole trade, even though they have it, but with the expansion of business, these resources become insufficient. It's not like that in the beginning they have started with the 5 partners, now they cannot admit new partner. Okay, that 5 can also become 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's all up to them. Okay, so that can increase. So with the expansion of business, if they are trying to expand the business along with the partners, then sometimes it may happen the capital which they are bringing, that won't be sufficient for the business. So the resources, they are limited. Then conflicts. Partnership, it lacks centralized management. Centralized management means it's not like that. Like in joint Hindu family, whole decision making power was in the hands of whom? In the hands of Karta. So that was centralized management. Only one single person was having the full control and the decision making power of the business. But here, since each and every partner, they have the power and control in their hands, that they can continue the business, they can take the decisions in their own, they have the full control. So it is decentralized. Okay, and every partner has the right to manage the partnership. So this will lead to conflicts and frictions. Then lack of continuity. Death, insanity, insolvency, all this will end the partnership. Okay, and apart from that, any partner can end partnership by giving a notice to all partners. Got it? Lack of public confidence. As I told, in the case of secrecy, they are not disclosing their accounts. They are not disclosing their accounts in front of the public. Okay, so what is happening? Since unlike the company business, the annual account, they are not presented to the public, so the real position of business does not become known to the public. And sometimes people get the idea that business is earning more profits by misleading the customers. Okay, so the creditors especially hesitate to advance loan to the partnership because the actual economic position is not known. The banks and the other financial institutions, they don't lend them loan easily because they don't know about their companies easily, their business easily. Then next come types of partners. So types of partners, basically there are 10 partners, but now let's see how many are going to study here. The first one is active partner. Active, or you can call it general partner. Okay, so who are they? They are those partners who actively, as the name is suggesting, active, who actively participate in partnership business. Okay, and normally, as I told in the beginning, one can participate, others can just sit and relax. Okay, so normally all partners do not actively participate in business, only some of them do so. So the one who actively participates in the management and decision making and control, all those things, they are known as active partners. So they contribute the capital, they participate in management, they share the profit and losses, and their liability is unlimited. Then comes sleeping or dormant partner. As the name is suggesting, they are always busy in sleeping or sitting. That means they never take part in business activities. Such partners, they invest. Obviously, they invest, they get the fixed share of profit, but they do not actively participate as active partner. Secret partner. Secret partner, nobody knows about them. Okay, the partner who participates in business secretly without knowledge of the third party. But in case the third party comes to know about it, he will become liable to them like other partners. Okay, liable to them means since they are having unlimited liability, and by any sources, other parties, the third party will come to know about them, then this secret partner will also have to pay from his debt, from his personal assets. Then nominal partner. Now nominal means some person, they only give their name and goodwill to a partnership. Okay, their name is only used in a partnership so that because of their goodwill, because of their reputation, so they do not share its profit, they are not supposed to share their profit, they are only namesake partners. Okay, that's why they are called nominal partners, but they are not liable to third parties. Even if the third party will come to know about them, they won't be liable to pay the debts. Then partner is by estoppel. So when a person present himself as a partner of firm, believing it true, third party lends money. That means he is not the partner, but in front of others, in front of third party, he is showing that I am the partner of the company. And believing it so, the third party issues him what? The loan, okay, or the goods or anything. Then such a person will be liable to those parties on firm's behalf, and they are called as partners by estoppel. Then partners by holding out. Now you have studied partner by estoppel. Now the next one is partner by holding out. So if a partnership firm shows to public about a particular person as its partner, and that person does not deny this fact that he is not a partner in reality, he also becomes liable to the third parties who will be dealing with the firm on this impression that he is a partner. So they are called as partner by holding out. Let me repeat this: partner by holding out and partner by estoppel. In case of partner by estoppel, when a person present himself as a partner of a firm, when they present themselves in front of third party that they are the partner of the firm, and they get the loans, goods or anything, then such person will become liable to those partners on firm's behalf. And the next one, partner by holding out. If a partnership firm shows to public about a particular partner as a person, as a particular person as a partner, then that person does not deny this fact that he is not a partner in reality. If something, so what is the basic difference here in partners by estoppel and holding out is, in case of partner by estoppel, the person will not, or will deny, he can deny later if the company is going to suffer with the losses and they will not have the money to repay the debt, then that time this partner can deny that I am not the partner. But in holding out, the partner cannot deny. Okay, he cannot deny this fact that I was not the partner, that was just to get the money. Okay, so he cannot deny this impression that he was not the partner of the firm. So these were some of the types of partners: active partner, sleeping partner, secret partner, nominal partners, partner by estoppel, and holding out. So these were some of the common partners, types of partner. Then minor as a partner, or you can say who can become a partner. So partnership, it takes birth from a mutual contract signed by the partners. Then question comes, can a minor become a partner? So as explained earlier, a minor is not eligible to enter into a contract as per Indian Contract Act 1872. He cannot, or he is not eligible to enter into a contract as per Indian Contract Act 1872. Therefore, he cannot become a partner of a firm. But if we talk about Indian Partnership Act 1932, following provisions or various provisions are made for a minor to be a partner. First thing, minor as a partner. A minor can participate in the profits of the partnership, but he cannot be accepted as a full-fledged partner. He can participate in the profits, he can get the profits, but he cannot be accepted as a full-fledged partner. Okay, then limited rights of minor partner. He has the following rights, like right to get the certain profit, right to audit the books. Audit means checking the books of accounts. Okay, then no right to use any rights. Okay, they don't have any right to use the partnership or partners. Okay, see, rights to share the profits and properties. He can inspect and copy the accounts of firm, that means he can audit the books of accounts. Then he can sue the partners for payment of his share. He can file a case against any of the partners. Then comes types of partnerships. So basically there are two, that is general partnership and limited partnership. So if we talk about kinds of partnership, it is divided into four basic parts according to its aim, according to the time, according to the legality, and according to nature. So let's start with the types of partnership. So the first one is general partnership. So general partnership, it basically means the partnership which has all the characteristics of partnership as you have discussed till now. Okay, which has all the characteristics of a partnership which you have discussed till now. Then this general partnership, it is divided into two: particular partnership and partnership at will. So as the name is suggesting, particular partnership. So when these partners, they come together to start a business for doing some particular work or for completing certain particular project, and that is particular partnership. Okay, when they are doing it for a certain period of time or for a certain job or for a certain project, then that is particular partnership. Then next is partnership at will. Here time duration is not decided. Okay, they are coming together on their will. Okay, it does not have any indefinite period. They come with a view to establish a business. Okay, that is only, and that can be ended any time by giving a necessary notice by one or all of the partners. So these two, partnership at will and particular partnership, comes under according to aims. The next one is limited partnership. So limited or special partnership, what you can call, in general partnership, liabilities of all the partners are unlimited, but in limited partnership, the liability of at least, as I told, in general partnership, each and everything which you have studied till now, all the features of partnership, If it is having so, then it will be general. But in limited partnership, the difference is the liability of at least one partner should be limited. And such partnerships, they are not practiced in India. They are not practiced in India. They are for the countries like England, America, such. Okay. So this is the thing. This is the difference in between general and limited partnership. So let me remind you kinds of partnership. It's two, general and limited. So general, it has all the basic characteristics of partnership. It is divided into two: particular partnership and partnership at will. And the second one is limited. Limited, one member should have at least a limited liability. Okay. Then partnership deed. Partnership deed, as explained, partnership, it is a result of an agreement which can be either oral or written. So a partnership agreement need not necessarily be in writing. It's not like that it has to be only in written. Okay, it need not to be in written. So however, to avoid future disputes between the partners and for the smooth functioning of the partnership, it is desirable that the important terms and condition of the partnership agreement should be in writing. As I said, it can be either oral and written, but there are some documents, there are some agreements, some terms and conditions which have to be in written. So when the partners enter into a written agreement on a stamped paper, as you can see here, when they come into a written agreement on a stamped paper, the document so produced is known as deed of partnership. And this means it contains all the rights and duties of the partners, provisions relating to the management, financial arrangement, settlements of accounts, how and when they have to dissolve the firm, all these things. So partnership deed means an agreement which is in written on a stamped paper. That is only deed of partnership. Okay, it can be either oral and written, but all of them, it's better to keep them in written on a stamp paper, and that is only partnership. Then contents of partnership. What are the things which are needed in partnership deed? The first thing is name and address of the firm. Okay, like ABC Associates, so that is going to be the name and address. Name and addresses of each and every partner. Then nature and place of business. The scopes of operation of the business and its nature, it should be explained in partnership deed. Okay, date of commencement of partnership. Date of commencement means from when are they going to start it. Okay, then duration of partnership, if any, if they have decided in advance that they are going to do their business for particular time period, then that has to be told. Okay, capital contribution by the partners. How many partners are there and how much they are going to invest in the company. Then the amount that can be withdrawn by each partner. Okay, withdrawn means which can be taken out by them during the partnership firm, which is partnership period which is going on, the amount which they can take out from the company. Rules regarding operation of bank accounts. Who will deal with all these things? Means who will take out the money from the bank account of the business. कौन कितना पैसा अभी निकाल सकता है, इट्स ऑल अबाउट दैट. ओके, बैंक से बैंक अकाउंट को कौन कैसे डील करेगा, कौन कैसे कितने पैसे निकालेगा, इट्स ऑल अबाउट दैट. देन डिविजन ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स और लॉसेस. एज आई सेड, जितना प्रॉफिट, हाउ मच दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड, दैट मच दे विल गेट द प्रॉफिट, एंड उतना ही सेम क्या होगा, उन्हें लॉसेस भी मिलेंगे. ओके, जितना उन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किया इन द सेम रेशियो दे आर गोइंग टू गेट द losses also. Contents of partnership deed. 10th point, interest on capitals or drawing if any. Now, whether any interest is going to be charged or given on capital or drawings of the partner, if it has to be charged or given, then what will be the rates of the interest? It should be mentioned. Interest on capital means, for example, the company is going to earn so much of profit. So if the one or any one of them is going to charge interest on that, interest on capital, interest on the profit which they are going to earn, if they are going to get extra, then that has to be decided, how much they will get, the rate of the interest they are going to get, and the drawings also. Drawings of the partners means whatever amount they are going to take out, that was also be decided, has to be decided. Okay. Then interest on partners loan to the firm. Partners loan to the firm means how much they are going to pay to the banks or the financial institution from whom they have taken the loan. That has to be also written here, how much they have to written now. Now salaries, commission if payable to any partner. So no partner, they don't have any right to get salary or commission. Okay, but by writing it in partnership deed, the salary or the commission, it may be given to partners. So the conditions in this regard should also be written in the deed. Okay, if they are going to get any salary or commission, then that has to be mentioned. Details of division of work among the partners. Who is going to do what job, or who is going to get which department, particular department, who will be the manager of which department. So that has to be also decided. Production department, sales department, who is going to deal with which department. Ascertainment of goodwill on admission, retirement and death of a partner. Now let me tell you what is goodwill. Goodwill is the reputation of business. So what will be the method of valuation of goodwill at that time? At the admission and retirement of partner, it should also be written. Okay, if anything will happen to any of the partner, then what will happen to the goodwill of the company, that also has to be decided and written in the agreement. Then settlement of accounts. Settlement of accounts, if anyone is going to retire, if something will happen to any one partner, how the accounts are going to be settled, how the profits are going to be shared, each and everything has to be mentioned. Same thing, settlement of accounts. Provisions relating to the maintenance and audits of account. Who is going to maintain the accounts and who is going to audit or inspect the accounting books, the accounts books which they have maintained, everything which they have maintained according to the transactions of the business, who is going to get it audited. Okay, and if the partners desire to get the accounts audited, it should be clearly mentioned with the name of the auditor and the procedure of auditing. Then provisions for arbitration in the events of disputes. Who and how is he going to settle down the disputes? If something will happen in between the partners, then how is it going to be solved? How these disputes are going to be solved? Okay. So in the event of conflict in the partnership, who will arbitrate and what will be the procedure of it, and complementation of his award, it should be in written. Regarding borrowings of the firm. Borrowings of the firm means from where are they going to get the extra money. That is okay, they are partners, they are investing it, but other than that, if they are going to get some money from somewhere, then that has to be mentioned. From where are they going to borrow? Rights, duties and liabilities of the partners. How many of them have unlimited liability? The one who's having the limited one, name has to be mentioned. Who's having what type of rights, who's having what type of duties, that also has to be mentioned.